Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Set It Up Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. We've had a huge news week in the state of Louisiana, but more importantly, we'll also be talking about LSU's weekend coming up as they'll start off. They'll start off playing Texas tomorrow in the Astros Foundation College Classic. We'll talk about the whole weekend. We'll kind of dive into a little preview of what to expect from LSU, and then also give a preview of all the three teams that LSU will be playing. But we'll also talk about their 16-4 victory over Rice, which was huge in terms of momentum going in this weekend. But first, we have to talk about the new development going on in Baton Rouge. And if you're an LSU basketball fan, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys are, you will be getting a new arena. So as it was announced a couple of days ago, LSU announced that they will be putting in the funds to build a new arena. And interestingly enough, it will be the only arena in Baton Rouge as the PMAC will be, I'm assuming it's going to be destroyed and be built anew. And then also the River Center will be no longer in use. LSU, along with TAF and Kim Mulkey, they met with the mayor of Baton Rouge, Sharon Weston Broom, and they want to build a new venue in Baton Rouge that can not only host sporting events like LSU, like the Baton Rouge Zydeco, which is the new minor league hockey team that's in Baton Rouge that started playing this season, but then also to host concerts. They want to bring in some big names for concerts, and that creates a strong economy for in Baton Rouge. As Baton Rouge needs the money, and LSU can't be the only thing that brings in the money for Baton Rouge. If the more entertainment you bring, the more people you can bring in, the more money it is for Baton Rouge and for everybody that lives in the Baton Rouge community, whether in the city or in the suburbs. So you need to have a new arena that can accommodate both those things. The PMAC is a large enough venue to host those type of events, but it's outdated. I think that was one of the biggest complaints about the PMAC is that it's outdated. Not only has Kim Mulkey said that, but former LSU head coach Will Wade always complaining about the facilities at the PMAC. Fans have complained about the PMAC. Jordy Collada has always complained about the PMAC, and rightfully so. A lot of people have been complaining about the PMAC. And so it's time to build a new arena. So this is kind of going off of a news report from WBRZ. I'm going to pull it up for you guys in just a second. Here we go. So, President Sharon Weston Broom and LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey have something in common. They both want a venue that could properly host sports and entertainment in Baton Rouge. The women agree with the Metro Council members that the River Center can't be that venue. According to LSU, neither can the PMAC, which is why TAF, the Tiger Athletic Foundation, is going ahead with plans to build an entirely new best-in-class arena for sports and entertainment. In order for that to happen, developers have to be assured that they won't be competing with the River Center to book acts. So TAF has asked the Metro Council to enter into a new agreement that would restrict the kind of events held there, including any concerts or shows that exceed 3,500 attendees. According to the River Center, and on average, they have 10 to 12 events a year that meet that. Some of those are Zydeco hockey games, which will be allowed to stay at the current arena, since sports events have a cap of 8,500. Some are members of the Metro Council, including Carolyn Coleman, whose district includes downtown, are on board with the proposal. She did not return a request for comment Monday. So the mayor called it an opportunity to build a significant parish-wide benefit. In a statement sent to WBRZ, it's much too early to determine the project cost, but according to the Metro Council's draft ordinance, it will be structured as a public-private partnership estimated to exceed $300 million. TAF will be on the hook for coming up with the money. A part of the proposal includes turning the River Center into a hub for conventions and potentially add a hotel to accommodate attendees. The item would be open to public comment on at a Metro Council meeting March 13th. So that's the big news out of Baton Rouge in terms of the new arena. So basketball will have a new arena, which is pretty exciting for the city of Baton Rouge. But moving on to baseball. LSU just had a huge victory over Rice. They absolutely dominated. Like, I know Rice isn't the same program that used to be in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, when I was growing up, Rice was a power. Rice actually won the national championship in 2003. I mean, they were almost a shoo-in to make it to the College World Series almost every year when I was growing up. But their head coach retired a few years ago, and they've kind of been on their legendary head coach retired a few years ago, unfortunately. So they're under new leadership under Jose Cruz Jr. They haven't made the tournament since 2017, but almost every year from 1995 through 2017, they made the NCAA tournament every year under Wayne Graham, which is the legendary head coach. Lance Berkman was a huge part of that run too. Lance Berkman is probably the biggest name to come out of the Rice program. Long-time MLB player. I think he was a 4 or 5-time All-Star and MLB. Really great player for the Astros and the Yankees, a couple other teams like that. But going back to LSU, stop talking about Rice. I mean, LSU dominated. They did what they needed to do. True freshman Cade Anderson, he earned the win. He pitched for 5 innings, had 3 hits, 3 runs. None of them were earned. And he had 1 walk and 7 strikeouts. So he had another solid outing. And that's pretty important because I think Cade Anderson could very well work himself in the starting lineup. We'll get to that more later on. But then also, what a night for Brady Neal. Brady Neal had 3 home runs all of last year. He played in 29 games before he got injured, and then Hayden Trubisky and Alex Milazzo took over the catching duties while he rested. But he had 3 home runs in 29 games, 29 appearances. This year, he has 3 home runs already, and we've only played 9 games. So Brady Neal's taken a huge step, and a lot of his struggles last year in terms of trying to get, hitting the ball had a lot to do with the fact that he was supposed to be a senior in high school last year. Remember, he reclassified. So he reclassified. So he was able to come to college a year early. So he actually did pretty well during his time last year at LSU. But he got injured, and he had and then also he struggled a little bit, which is fine because he was a freshman, but he also had some big games too, especially against Arkansas. The first game of the Arkansas series where LSU lost, he actually hit the home run that tied it up to put the game into extra innings. So he had some pretty big moments last year, but you could tell he's taken a huge step, which is very important for this LSU team because they need those sophomores to step it up, especially when you lose guys like Abaduga, Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, Braden Jobert. Kay Belozo, you're missing a whole lot of veterans that you lost from last year's team. So you need those sophomores to take the next step to become those guys. Well, obviously, it's hard to replace all those guys, of course. It's hard to fill in their shoes, especially a guy like Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan. But you need those sophomores to take the next step into becoming what they were supposed to be in terms of the hype that they're coming in, especially like guys like Paxton Clean and Jared Jones. But then done with the sophomores and all that type of, sophomores are Brady Neal. Tommy White had a fantastic game. Tommy White has been battered by LSU Twitter for he used to be Tommy Tanks. Now it's Tommy Double Play White, and it was just bad. But Tommy White overcame all his struggles and went 3 for 5. Oh, no, 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Another fantastic performance by him. Obviously Brady Neal stole the show with his 2 home runs, but Tommy White, man, had a fantastic game. So that's good to see after he struggled early on. So it looks like LSU is finally getting those bats to come around. The first 2 weeks of the season, outside of the 18-10 victory over Stony Brook in the revenge game, and then the VMI game where they broke the LSU school record. They broke the school record for most hits in the game. They really struggled, but now you're starting to see the bats come through, which is very, very important going into this weekend. But yeah, speaking of this weekend, let's talk about it. Obviously, LSU will be playing, as I mentioned before, in the Astros Foundation College Classic. The games will all be played on. I think it's going to be on YouTube as for free on the Astros YouTube channel. So I'm going to read it right here. The 24th annual Astros Foundation College Classic returns at Minute Maid Park from March 1st to 3rd, and this is lineup stacked: LSU, Texas State, University of Houston, the University of Louisiana Lafayette, and Vanderbilt will take the field for the 9-game tournament. The Cougars and Bobcats will kick off the tournament, start off followed by Vandy and the Raging Cajuns. The Texas Longhorns and LSU Tigers headline the 3-day tournament at 7:05 p.m. Friday night. Check the full schedule below. And as you can see here, it's a pretty stacked lineup. Obviously, LSU's not going to play Vanderbilt because they're a conference opponent. And not only that, they'll also play them this year. So it's a pretty big weekend for LSU. That's an amazing lineup. Houston has a solid program. Texas State has a solid program as well. We'll talk about them later on, as that'll be LSU's third and final opponent on Sunday. They are 5-3. Vanderbilt, obviously one of the premier programs in college baseball in the last 10 to 15 years. Texas, of course. Texas is arguably, they are one of the biggest blue bloods in college baseball, along with LSU. Texas and LSU were both tied with 6 national championships before LSU won their 7th championship last season in Omaha. And so it's a pretty big weekend, and I believe that all the games will be hosted on the Astros YouTube channel. I believe it's the Astros YouTube channel, and then also I think the Texas game will be on MLB Network, but I think it's a tape delay. So I could be wrong about that, but I'll double check in a second. But anyway, let's talk about what to expect for LSU baseball. For one, I think Luke Holman will be the ace this weekend. I think he's been the best pitcher for LSU so far. I mean, he hasn't allowed a single run. I think he's thrown 18 strikeouts so far, and he's just looked solid all throughout the season in his 2 appearances. And the ace at this moment right now is Thatcher Hurd. But Thatcher's been struggling. Thatcher Hurd's been really struggling recently. Thatcher Hurd, he's an ERA of 9. He's through 7 innings, he's had 11 hits, 7 runs, all earned, 5 walks, and 12 strikeouts. So, I mean, I think, 12 strikeouts is fine. I think that there's no issue with that. But the fact that he has 11 hits in 7 innings is, that's not good. That's not good at all. And of course, and also batters hitting 355 off of him. I mean, Thatcher's very talented, guys. Thatcher is one of the best, I still believe is one of the most talented pitchers in college baseball. However, he has a consistency problem, and that happened last year. Last year, he started off the season hot. Then he won a really long cold streak. And then when postseason play hit, he had a really good postseason. Obviously one of the biggest reasons why LSU was able to win the national championship. He was huge in the regional against Oregon State. I mean, he pitched lights out for I believe 4 or 5 innings before Gavin Gidry came to close the game. I mean, he was a big reason why LSU was able to escape from that regional against a very good Oregon State team, who's now probably one of the favorites to make it to Omaha this year. And also, he was huge in the College World Series as well, especially against Florida in Game 3. But he's not looked the part so far this season. I think he'll still be a part of the starting lineup, but he won't be the ace. I believe that will be Luke Holman. Luke Holman is used to being the ace. He was the ace at Alabama, and he was so good that Brad Bohannon benched him against LSU last season so his buddy could win all kinds of money. Yeah, sorry, I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry, because that was really funny. I'm sorry. That was one of the funniest sports stories I've ever read about. It was, you guys all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, but I think Luke Holman will probably be pitching against Texas tomorrow. Another thing I expect for LSU, I expect the bats to be coming around. The bats have really been improved so far. At the beginning of this year, they seemed like they were stagnant. They were slow. It wasn't the Jay Johnson gorilla ball that we're used to seeing, where it's home runs galore, all kinds of hits, runs, you name it. And they've really seemed to turn up the notch the last couple of games, which is good to see, especially when tomorrow you'll probably be facing one of the top pitching staffs in the country in Texas, and they'll go against LeBaron Johnson, who was one of the pitchers who was the starting pitcher last year in LSU's game against Texas, and he absolutely killed LSU. Matter of fact, I think LSU was praying they was able to get out of the game so they could get a hit, and that's exactly what happened. As the second he stepped out the game, Gavin Dugas, the game-winning a 3-run home run to win the game for LSU. So it's a pretty big weekend for the bats to see what they're all about. I expect Jared Jones to get maybe a home run or two. He needs to cut down the strikeouts a little bit. I think he's got 5, but I think I've seen a little bit more patience out of him. He seems like he's hitting the ball pretty well, but we'll see going in this weekend against some pretty tough competition. Brady Neal, I think, will continue his streak of his huge streak of games where he's just been unstoppable behind the plate and hitting home runs. I mean, this is the best I've seen. I've seen Brady Neal hit behind the plate. And Tommy White will be fantastic as well. He seems like he turned the corner in against Rice. And, I think he'll have a huge weekend as well. And then we'll also see how the freshmen step up. Stephen Milam or Milam. I think it's Milam. And then Jake Brown. How they will perform against 3 really good teams so far. But then also, I think we want to move on. We're going to move on to the bullpen. The bullpen, I think, will have a fantastic weekend. Sam Dunn has been fantastic. He's looked really good. And last year he had a down year after having such a strong freshman campaign. So it seems like he's back to his form during that time. Last year, obviously he struggled a huge bit. He didn't see as many appearances as he did his freshman year. But he seems like he's turning the corner. I think it'll be a huge part of this weekend. Fidel Ulloa, he's been a very strong person to come in the back end of the bullpen. I think he's been real awesome for LSU, along with Gavin Gidry, along with DJ Primo. Expect to see all those guys. Will Gage Jump be in the starting lineup? Most likely. It'd probably be the day 3 guy, maybe even the day 2 guy. He could also be the ace. He was the ace last week. He's the one that started the weekend series last weekend. So, he could very well be the ace too. So, but, obviously you got Nate Agenhouse in there as well. Justin Lower, even though Justin Lower struggled a little bit. Jay still has trust in him. Jay actually really likes him. He's actually probably one of the favorites in the bullpen on LSU staff right now that Jay really loves. He struggled early on, but I think once he kind of finds his groove, I think he'll be a fantastic pitcher for LSU, as shown in his ability at Xavier last season, as he was a huge part of why Xavier was able to win their regional last year. But yeah, moving on, let's talk about LSU's opponent in Texas. Texas, they've appeared in 20. They've appeared in 38 College World Series. They've had 38 appearances in the College World Series. I mean, that's incredible. So they're one of the most successful programs of all time. And also they returned a lot, and they really should have made it Omaha last year. Obviously the outfielder made a huge mistake, which ultimately led to Texas missing out on the College World Series last year, and Stanford punched their ticket in against Texas last year, unfortunately. But Texas returns a lot of players. First, let's off with first baseman Jared Thomas. He's arguably been the best hitter behind the plate for Texas. He's been hitting .581 behind the plate. He leads the team in hits with 18, and he has 5 doubles. That also leads the team. A home run, 6 RBIs, and he's also 6 for 6 on stolen base attempts. So watch out for him stealing the bases. Peyton Powell, he leads the team in home run and RBIs with 18. He also has 4 home runs with a triple. Is batting .441 behind the plate. Jalen Flores, shortstop, .344 behind the plate, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. He's another fantastic player as well. Will Gasparino, who a lot of people thought before the season would be the Big 12 Freshman Player of the Year. He is batting .360 with 3 doubles and 7 RBIs. Probably the more accomplished player on Texas' roster is Porter Brown. Porter Brown has had his struggles this year, unfortunately. It's 167 with 2 doubles and 2 RBIs. But like any good player or any great player that plays the sport of baseball, he's going to be due. I mean, that's just the inevitable. It's hard for me to see a player like Porter Brown be down for this long. He's due. I mean, that's just simple as that. Like, same thing with Tommy White. Great players just don't bat 167 the whole season. They're going to find the groove, and then they're going to overcome it, and they're going to start doing damage. That's just very typical of guys like Porter Brown. Porter Brown was all Big 12 coming into the season. I mean, he's going to find his groove. And if you're LSU, you better hope he doesn't find his groove against you against LSU. Of course. So those are some names to watch out for behind the plate. For the pitching staff, they've their whole staff has an ERA of 182. Which is pretty damn good, to be honest with you. And obviously they'll have LBJ, LeBaron Johnson Jr. He will be the ace for sure for Texas. 138 ERA. He has a record of 1-0 in the season, and in 13 innings pitched, he has allowed 7 hits, 2 runs, all earned, 4 walks, and 14 Ks. One of the better pitchers in college baseball. He will be drafted probably in the first 3 rounds of this year's MLB draft, and he's a very great, very very good pitcher for Texas and one of the best in the country. In the bullpen, expect to see David Shaw, one of the best relievers in the country. So far, he's now allowed to run, and in 2.2 innings pitched, he's only allowed 2 hits, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Another guy to watch for is Gage Bohm, 3.86 ERA, and in 4.2 innings pitched, he's had 6 hits, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts. Grant Fontenot, pretty sure Louisiana people are tripping out by the last name Fontenot. I don't think he's from Louisiana. I could be wrong. but right now is an ERA of 0. Now, so he hasn't allowed a single run, and he's at 4. And he's appeared in 4 games. So in the 4 appearances, he's had 4 hits, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts, and batters only hit 222 off of them. Pretty damn good, if you ask me. I'm actually look up if Grant Chachere is actually from the state of Louisiana. He's from Lafayette, so he's from Lafayette. So, oh boy, that's not honestly. If you're I think a lot of LSU fans when they see last year's like Fontenot, that's the last thing you want to see because that means did LSU miss out on a kid? Did LSU diss a kid by not recruiting him? There's a whole thing, because we saw that with Keon Coleman in the LSU football game against LSU where he went off, and that was really his coming out party nationwide in that game. So that I think if you're an LSU fan, you're kind of scared about hearing those type of kids who are from Louisiana. But anyway, the last guy I want to talk about out of the bullpen is Easton Tunis. 1.59 ERA and 5.2 innings pitched. He's allowed 3 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and is only allowed and it has a batting average allowed of 158. So it's very hard to hit off of a guy like Easton Tunis. So LSU's bats be ready because this will probably be the best pitching staff they will face up until they get to SEC play. Moving on to UL, which would be the opponent on Saturday. Kyle DeBarge is probably the biggest name out of here. Like Porter Brown, he's had a tough start to the season, batting .212. Batting .212 behind the plate, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. So he's in an okay start of the season, not great, considering the fact that he's a great player. I think he wants to improve on that. And then also he was also named as the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year. And the Sun Belt's a pretty good conference. They're a top 5 conference in college baseball for sure. Besides obviously just like for me, it's the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, the Pac-12, then it's the Sun Belt. So the Sun Belt has always been a strong conference. Last year, I believe they had 4 teams make it to the NCAA tournament, which is more than the Big Ten. And in college baseball, which is funny, the Big Ten is considered a mid-major conference. That just shows you how talented the Sun Belt Conference is when it comes to baseball. Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, Texas State, UL Lafayette. And, the list goes on. And Troy's pretty solid squad too. But Trey, another guy you want to watch out for is designated hitter Trey LaFleur, batting .526 from behind the plate, which leads the team. He's had 2 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, and 7 RBIs. Another guy you should watch for is center fielder Josh Alexander. He's batted .308 behind the plate, 2 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs. Then you also have left fielder Connor Higgs, who returns from last year, having a strong year last year. He's having a pretty good year this year as well, batting .267 behind the plate, 4 doubles, a home run, and 3 RBIs. Now, the pitching staff for UL is pretty interesting. Usually the day 2 guys, Chase Morgan. Chase Morgan on the season is 0-1. He has an ERA of 6.0. And through 6 innings pitched, he's had 8 hits, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. But I think he might be the day 2 guy. But I think they might go with Carson Fluno. Carson Fluno is 1-0. He has the ERA of 2.0. And through 9 innings pitched, he's had 5 hits allowed. He's allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, both of them were earned, only 2 walks, and then 9 strikeouts. I think he's going to be the guy that will start day 2 against LSU. Obviously, UL wants to get one in on LSU. The players want it, the coaching staff wants it, the administration wants it, the fans definitely want to. Every baseball season, it seems like the LSU UL Twitter beef just ramps up whenever they play each other, or it's in the week that they do play each other. So So it's a pretty big weekend for both the schools, especially for the fan bases who love to tear each other apart. And Raging Review and Blake Ruffino of AYS Sports, just be civil with each other. I'm gonna be a little peacemaker. Just be civil with each other, please. Nah, just do it. I love the drama. But anyway, but yeah, I think Carson Fluno will start. Carson Fluno will start against LSU. I expect it. Otherwise, if not, it'll be Chase Morgan. But yeah, but also, but every year it seems like UL gives LSU a hard time in baseball, and that makes sense because they're a very talented program as well. I think they're one of the better mid-major programs in college baseball, and I think that's a game, especially if you beat a team like Texas, that could be a game where that seems like a game that could be a potential letdown game. And UL's done it before. They beat LSU last season. I know a lot of LSU fans will say it was a midweek game and it doesn't matter. But I think but ULL will see this as a big game, and rightfully so. But yeah, a couple other guys you want to out of the bullpen you should expect is Andrew Herman. He's 1-0 in the year. He's appeared in 2 games. He started 1. On the season, he's pitched in 7 innings, and in those 7 innings, he's allowed 6 hits, 2 runs, none of them were earned, 2 walks and 12 strikeouts, which is tied for first among the pitching staff in terms of strikeouts. Another guy you should expect is Stephen Cash. He's appeared in 4 games so far, and in 5.2 innings pitched, he's allowed 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, and 11 strikeouts, which is second among the pitching staff as well. Another guy you should watch out for is Matthew Holzhammer. He's appeared in 3 games and in 3.2 innings pitched. He also has a save as well. He also has a save as well. But in 3.2 innings pitched, he's had 1 hit, no runs allowed, no walks, and has thrown 6 strikeouts. So that's there's some others as well, like JP Longavin, winning on the season, has an ERA 2.57, and he also has a save as well. And through 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, both of them were earned. He's had 6 walks, which he's had an issue with walking batters. He leads the pitching staff in walks actually with 6, and then he also has 12 strikeouts, which is tied with Andrew Herman for the most strikeouts among the pitching staff. So there's Texas State. That's a team that you should definitely watch out for. For game 2, that's a trap game for sure. But another opponent you have to watch out for. Well, the next opponent, the third and final opponent for LSU is Texas State. Texas State's 5-3. Just like UL, they've had some. So they start the season hot, pretty well. They swept Youngstown State, including a game where they won 20-2 over Youngstown State. But then they had a rough slate of games. They lost against TCU 5-6 in a very close game. They lost against Kansas 4-7, and then they lost against a very good Kentucky team that made the Supers last year, where they ultimately lost against LSU. And then they beat Washington State 13-4, and they beat Prairie View A&M 23-2. So they can score runs, and that's going to reflect the stats, as I mentioned. Right now, the leading batter right now for Texas State is Ryan Farber. Ryan Farber is batting .556 on this season, and he also leads the team in hits with 15. He's had 4 doubles and 8 RBIs. on the year. Another guy you should watch out for is August Ramirez, 429 batting average with 2 doubles, 1 triple, and 3 home runs. If you go down the list, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who've hit home runs so far, and 3 of them have had multi-home run games. Cameron Thompson is another name you should watch out for, 333 batting average with a double, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. Alec Patino, he's batting 407, 11 hits, one double, 1 home run, and 9 RBIs. And then also another name you should watch out for is Chase Mora. Chase Mora was a all Sunbelt selection, preseason all Sunbelt selection coming this season, like Porter Brown and Kyle DeBarge earlier. He's had a slow start to the season, batting 200, and he has had 1 home run so far, only 1. But he's at 6 assists, but only 1 home run with 5 RBIs. Like I said before, good players like that, they're due eventually. They may struggle, but they're going to be due eventually, as any good baseball player has ever done, including a guy like Tommy White, who I mentioned before, earlier. He had a slow start the season, but now he looks like he might be improving his form after he having a 2 for 5, after he batted 2 for 5 behind the plate. I also had like 2 or 3 RBIs. So Texas State's also really good too. In terms of the bats, I believe they've scored 87 runs. Texas State is scored as 21st in total runs with 87. So Texas State could score a lot of runs. But let's talk about their pitching staff. Texas State, obviously the 3 starters have been Tony Roby, Austin Eden, and Peyton Zabel. So it could be any of those 3 pitchers. I'm not sure what their rotation will be like this weekend, because they might change it up a bit. But let's start with Tony Roby. Tony Roby is 5.68, has a 5.68 ERA, and through 6.1 innings, he's allowed 9 hits, 4 runs all earned, 5 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Right now, he's probably one of the more hittable pitchers on this pitcher staff. He's had a batting average allowed of 391. So a lot of teams have had no struggle hitting off of Tony Roby. I mean, he's had more hits than he's had innings pitched. So if he is a starting pitcher against LSU, oh boy, he's gonna have a long day. Austin Eden, he's also one of the starters. 7.11 has a ERA of 7.11, 6.1, and through 6.1 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 runs, all of them are earned, 5 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So that's another guy you could expect. And then Peyton Zabel, he has a 7.20 ERA. He also has 4 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 8 walks, which leads the team. So he has a walk problem, and 6 strikeouts. But he's one. But all of them will have won at least one game. Peyton Zabel's the only one with the undefeated record, as Tony Roby and Austin Eden both have 1-on-1 records. So the starting pitching really doesn't look that strong, but where Texas State's strongest is actually their bullpen. Taylor, I believe it's Taylor Say. It's Seay. I think it's Taylor Say. But he has appeared in 4 games, and in 2 innings pitched, he struck out 3 and has not allowed a hit all year. Another guy you should watch out for is Otto Wofford, and he's appeared in four games and has an ERA of 180. And through 5 innings pitched, he's allowed 2 hits, 2 runs. One of them was earned, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. Another guy to watch for is Rent McCafferty. And through he's appeared in 3 games and in 4.1 innings pitched, he's allowed 3 hits, 2 runs. Both of them were earned. He's not walked a single batter, and he has 8 strikeouts. So those are the kinds of names you should see against LSU from Texas State out of the bullpen. So pretty big weekend for LSU baseball. So I think this weekend will be a huge look to what LSU really is as a team. Because this is probably the toughest. There's going to be the toughest competition they'll play up until they start SEC play against Mississippi State. And then also there's obviously it's going to be stacked. You got not only have Mississippi State, but you have Florida is your first home series, I believe. Then you have Vanderbilt coming into Baton Rouge, Arkansas on the road. Ole Miss is always going to be a tough team. So you're going to have a tough SEC schedule like always. The SEC is the premier baseball conference in college baseball. And so I think this weekend will be huge for LSU to see where they're at, kind of see who are the top players on this LSU team. How does the pitching staff line up? How's the starting rotation is going to look moving forward? Who are the better bullpen? Who are the better relievers out of the bullpen? It's a very, very important week for LSU, and this could be a weekend that could pace the rest of the season. But yeah, that's going to be wrapping up for this episode of the Set It Off podcast. I'm going to have another one coming during the weekend, kind of discuss LSU basketball, where they are in terms of the SEC tournament, the NIT, you name it. Because this week is a pretty big weekend for LSU, as they will travel to play Arkansas, I believe. So that should be a really big game for both the Tigers and the Razorbacks. So they can hopefully push forward to make the NC tournament. But until then, I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Chachere Grant. That's right there on the screen. Also, make sure to follow Ruger Sports on all social media platforms. And then also make sure to like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Until then, hasta mañana. I just butchered Spanish. I'll see you guys later.